much. That is so big.
Brought to you by Gurty Beats. Straight from the streets.
Okay, hi, you're watching Grace B Eats and we're here at Old Airport Road Food Centre to talk about Roast Paradise. Now, if you're a foodie, you'll know about the stall because it is a hugely popular stall and it has been featured quite heavily in the media. But in this case, the food largely justifies the hype, especially the char siu. Now, a little bit about its history. Though only established in 2015, Roast Paradise has quickly built up the reputation as having one of the best char siu offerings in Singapore. The business has a few outlets spread across Singapore. Old Airport Road, which is the original location, and at Killiney Road in collaboration with the Muttons. Started by Kai Ko and Randall Gunn. They're now 33 and 30 respectively. They left their jobs in the nightlife and events industry to apprentice under Kai's uncle, Bill Koon, who owns the renowned famous Seremban favourites in Kuala Lumpur. Koon is famous for his Kuala Lumpur style char siu and Hakka noodles. Even though they have no culinary experience, Kai and Randall apprenticed under Koon for a year before starting out Roast Paradise. So let's head inside. Hello, 超市有饭，还要盖面，加那个叉烧。
一个叉烧面，一个烧肉面，是的。
好吃啊，谢谢。Okay, we're back from the stall. And when the store opened at 11 AM, there were already like 6 people in front of me. So I waited about 10-15 minutes for my food, maybe a bit longer. So what did I order? Okay, I ordered the char siu and roast pork rice, plus the Hakka noodles with some additional char siu. And some soup, which is complimentary. There's some chili here and there's some char siu sauce. Okay, let's try the famous char siu lah, okay? Since this is what the stall is famous for. Whoa, looks nicely caramelized. Oh my god, exceedingly good. The results really speak for itself, okay? The char siu is really the big highlight here, the main highlight here. It's got a nice mix of pork fat and fairly juicy soft meat. There's not too much lean, there's not too much fat, and the flavour is a nice balance between savoury and sweet and not too intense. Last time they used to give the option of having lean and fatty. Now they've stopped doing that. It's nice that they've got nice caramelization on the outside. It's a bit slightly burnt, so there's a bit of that smoky sensation. The fat is really meltingly soft. You put it in your mouth and it melts. It's wonderful. I suspect that a lot of the meat is probably from the Pujian Tian area, which is the armpit area of the pig. I've talked about this in previous vlogs. That's why you have this nice mix of fat and meat in between. And because the meat is next to the fat, right, it tends to be more tender as a result. Sometimes you'll encounter meat which is a bit chewier, but with a nice caramelized burnt roastedness on the outside, which is usually towards the ends, like this one. For additional flavour, they serve this char siu sauce on the side. It's probably the marinating sauce for the char siu lah. It comes intensely salty, sweet, kind of like a honey-like consistency. So it does add flavour, but there's a lot of flavour. So add it with restraint lah. But it should go nicely if you add the char siu, a bit of the char siu sauce and the rice, like this. A small note of interest is that it used to say, I'm not sure whether it says it anymore lah. Previously, when this store opened, right, the store sign had the word since 1970 written on it. It doesn't refer to when the business started, but it is the approximate date when the char siu recipe was first conceptualized in Kuala Lumpur. Now, there's the siu yolk here, and well, okay, I've tried this stall many times and I've had issues with the siu yolk, the roast pork. It's never that juicy and the skin is never that crispy, but I haven't been back for about 6 months, so let's give it a go. Okay. Meat is alright. The skin, crunch test. Fairly crunchy this time. Very nicely done. Plus, it's got a biscuit-like crunch. When I've had it, and I've tried this stall several times, the siu yolk tends to be inconsistent lah. It tends to be good sometimes, bad sometimes. Today it's good. The chili on the side, which you eat with the char siu yolk rice. Okay, I see. It's a mix between sweet and sour, but there's a lot of chili bits inside. Sweet, sour, spicy. Perhaps it's a bit too sweet for my liking. Trying the chili with the char siu and the rice, like this. Nice if you like it, on the slightly sweeter side. Personally, I would have preferred that they didn't add the sweetness inside. That's just a personal preference. Now the rice itself is very, very nice. It's a chicken rice. You know, it's the sort of rice you find in a Hainanese chicken rice. When they began, it used to be inconsistent. These days, I've tried it today and it's great. It's basically got a bit of that maybe chicken fat flavor, a bit of herb notes, slightly salted. The texture today is nicer. It's basically got a little bit of firmness, which is nice. One thing I don't like about this dish is that it tends to emphasize the sweetness. So the char siu is just nice. The sweetness is very, very slight. You eat it with the rice and it's perfect. You don't need sauce on it. And then the chili is sour sweet, leaning a little bit more towards the sweeter side. And then you have this char siu sauce, which is sweet and it's savory. So you add this, and then you add this, and then you add this. It gets to be too sweet, you know. So you really need to moderate it. As far as I'm concerned, the char siu and the rice is where it's at. You really don't need the sauces at all. However, it's not the case for the siu yolk, the roast pork. You can add a little bit of the chili and it balances out quite nicely. Before I go on, talking about the soup, don't forget the soup. You really have to get it. It's just plain soup. It's got a bit of cabbage inside. Oh my god. I don't know what they do with the soup, okay? It is really a plus point, the soup. It's free, you just take however much you want. It's got a lot of cabbage flavour inside. But it's got a very nice, decent, rounded savouriness lah. You know that it's not just salt and water lah. Wonderful. Okay, now, the Hakka noodles. It's something they learned when they were in KL, and it's good. This is what it looks like. Okay, I've already mixed it up, but I know it's good lah anyway. I've had this and it's brilliant. Very nice. It's dressed in a kind of like a savoury stock sauce and topped off with flavoured mincemeat, which is mainly savoury, but it leans a little bit towards stock sweetness, a little bit more. The taste is light, but then you add this wonderful chili sambal inside, which is wonderful. It's your basic chili sambal lah. It's full of oil richness and a dried prawn flavour. You mix it up and it actually adds a lot of flavour. The resultant flavour is this mildly spicy, oil-rich, general stock savoury, slightly sweet taste, which is really very Moorish. And the fact that it's only $2.80 is incredible value for money. The noodle texture is soft with bite, which is nice. It doesn't go overly soft even if you leave it. And the mincemeat is nice and fatty, very soft as well, wonderful. And I ordered it with char siu because, well, it is the best thing here. They offer the Hakka noodles. You can have it plain with just mincemeat, or you can add some roast pork or char siu on top. I actually prefer it just plain on its own. It makes for a very cheap, flavorful meal. The char siu is nice, but when you pair it with the Hakka noodles, right, it sort of like interferes. Because the char siu is wonderful and, you know, robust and flavorful, and so it's sort of like it puts the noodles in the background a bit lah. One other point, they put some sliced cucumbers in the noodles lah, and on the rice. So crunchy. So the problem about these Hakka noodles is that it really is one of the best examples of a cheap and good hawker dish. But the problem is that at the stall, there's so much media attention paid to it. There are such long queues. I mean, there's now like 12 people, 13 people in the queue, and now it's like, what time is it now? Now it's not even 12, 11:40. And so the queue is quite insane lah. If you're going to queue for half an hour, 45 minutes, right? You might as well get the full works. You get the char siu, you get the suyo, you get the rice, you get the noodles, you get everything lah, basically. Because you might as well make it worth your time, and so the Hakka noodles tends to get overshadowed a lot of the time, which is a pity. Because in my mind, the Hakka noodles is actually easily just as good as the char siu. If you were to open a stall just selling this, right, there'll be a long queue as well. I personally feel. Okay, done. So that was a look at Roast Paradise. You've probably heard of it, and there are like 1,000 videos on this stall. But they do actually deserve the reputation lah. The char siu is very, very good. The Hakka noodles is very, very good. The rest of the items are okay. They're not bad, but could be improved on. They've improved on the suyo, which is very, very commendable, and the soup is fantastic. I'm not too sure about the char siu sauce and the chili sauce, but in my mind, char siu and the rice with maybe a little bit of the char siu sauce, not too much, it makes for a wonderful dish. Anything else? Have I left out any other details? No? Queue's still going, man. Anyway, thanks for watching another episode of Great Speed Eats, where I eat through the whole of Singapore. If you like this episode, give a like, subscribe, comment below, share with your friends, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.